You started in 2010 when the credit union was called Pacific Northwest Ironworkers Federal Credit Union. And, as you mentioned, it was right on the heels of the Great Recession, and the credit union had 7.9 million in assets and a capital ratio of 4.8%, right?
Yes.
Oh man. And and you've kind of talked about your decision to stick with that credit union and see it through the hard times, and doing the work, and really sort of transforming the organization. You've led that credit union into now what is a nationally chartered credit union called Ironworkers USA Federal Credit Union, with assets greater than 120 million in assets. Wow.
Yes.
That is crazy.
123 now.
How many now?
123.
123. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've posted numbers, your ROA, some of the highest ROA results in the industry, member growth, loan growth, just things that are off the charts. When you think about where you were in 2010, how does it feel knowing that you've really turned this credit union into something successful, especially compared to where it was in 2010? But just going back to like your story of being sort of the success story amid kind of like a lot of negative sort of stories around small credit unions. I mean, that was sort of like the first thing that gave me hope about small credit unions, was hearing about Ironworkers, and like I remember so many people telling me not to take the job when I was first considering taking the job with CUNA serving small credit unions. And then like once I did, there was definitely a lot of doom and gloom, both from small credit unions themselves. Like you'd call them up and they'd be like, yeah, things are hard, life is hard, I think we're going to merge soon. But then you also got it from business partners who had kind of given up on them, and so it was tough. And then starting on the committee and meeting you and learning your story and the Ironworker story, it was like, oh man, this can work, and there are actual examples of smaller credit unions that can be successful. And so all of the hope that I gained and generated, I credit to you and the Ironworker story for sure.
Thank you. I shed a spotlight on us, those thriving small credit unions, for you to see. And it is difficult. It's difficult when you're sitting in a room, and I've been in those rooms with people that want to complain about the larger credit unions coming into their area, or there's no hope, their members aren't borrowing, I have older members. Like, I've heard all of those excuses in meetings, and a lot of times I've had to sit on my hands because I have lots of ideas for people, and I don't want to bombard them, and it's work. And so some people don't really want to work. They want to coast or just do status quo because it works. But one of the things I have talked about a little bit here the last couple of months is, looking at the glass half full is always how I've done it. Like, I think, okay, when I first came, we had 1,200 or 1,300 borrowers, but we had 5,000 members. So where are those why are they still a member? That, 3,500 people, and why are they not borrowing from us? Where are they going? So when we took that approach, I think, and I would see people pull up in the parking lot and think, that truck's not with me, I want that truck. And
yeah,
so it just took that mindset of, I want this business. They're coming here to put their check in our account. Why aren't we getting everything from them? And so just, slowly asking them, and then seeing that I could go into the ACH and mine that. A lot of that has to do with the data processor. Does it make it easy for you to extract that information? But once I could see, oh, that's where those are financed, let's get those over here. And so the lending machine began for us. And I didn't look back. I'm not worried about anybody else. I do have members that would borrow from me and then their loan would pay off and I'd call them and say, hey, I saw you paid off. Well, I'm going to this credit union because their rate is better. And I said, well, that's too bad. I mean, I could still match it. They didn't want to move it. And I thought, well, that credit union stole my member. I wouldn't have done that to them because I was standing on this, you know, ground on the earth and saying, I'm not taking anybody other credit union's members. I'm going after loans that are at the payday lenders or the Santanders or the One
Yeah.
Mains, the lending club. And I really don't. If a member happens to come in and ask for a payoff for another credit union, we'll do it because their checking account and everything's with me. And it was through the indirect lending that they got there. So they're not really going to even be a loyal member to them.
Hmm.
Ultimately, I'm not worried about that. They drank my Kool-Aid. They've already been a member. If they're going to go enjoy the benefits of another credit union, that's fine, but they'll come back. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. So you've had credit unions sort of come to you and say, hey, you're taking my members, really?
I never have, because you know what?
Oh,
I really do
okay.
look at the ACH and I see that they don't go anywhere else. I mean, every
Yeah.
now and again, and like I said, it's through the indirect channel that they got there. And if that's the case, and I know about it, I will say, we can bring it over here, no problem. Because ultimately, they do want to bank with me just because of our relationship. It's not to say the other credit union can't do good things too, because they can, but this was an easy catch of a member, if you get my members, I think.
Yeah. 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 And ultimately, they come to the credit union because, they know that you're going to make an impact on them and
Yeah.
you're trying to help them. Right. I mean, and that's ultimately, I think, what the goal is for you guys is just trying to make someone's life a little bit better. And
Yeah.
pulling them away from some of these predatory lenders is the best way for you to do that. I would say that in some of the strategic planning sessions that I've been doing, when I meet with a credit union who doesn't have the same track record of serving underserved members or communities, but maybe wants to, they're very uncertain about how to approach doing it. What are the things that they have to do in order to give a loan to C, D, and E borrowers without putting the credit union in a tricky financial position? Like they're not willing to take on the risk. They're not willing to lend a little bit deeper like you guys have. And I don't think that you make a loan to just anybody. Obviously there's an underwriting process, and you want to put someone in a position to be able to repay it, right? But what are some of the things that you have found that are effective when you're underwriting a loan for lower credit score borrowers?
I think one of the number one thing I look at is if this vehicle has been financed or loan has been financed somewhere else, and they've paid that 28% for 12 months with on-time payments. And they maybe the reason their score is low is because they've had a Verizon or a medical collection that's popped on their score. So it does take a little bit more investigating and doing it takes more time. And it is the nature of this beast. It can't be AI. It can't be, it's a human looking at it and weighing that option. Because to me, I had a guy last week, 28%, he's been paying on his car loan for over 2 years. He's actually B credit. So probably when he went to get it, the finance company got him through a dealer that gave him 28% for this vehicle. And
Crazy,
he
just
came
crazy.
to us, he's just like, this is amazing. And we got 2 other loans from him. So it's
Yeah.
also too, in those situations, you can look at kind of what else is on the credit report that we can bring over. Maybe we can consolidate something. Is there value in this car? Sometimes you find that there's not the value that we have in our policy, 100% or less, or if we're at 80% or less for D and E paper. But can you make an exception? Can it go to a committee? Can it go to a couple of you to problem solve this and say, okay, he has his direct deposit here. He's been a member for 2 years. He's worked for XYZ employer. he's paid on this loan for 10 plus months or 12 months, no
Mhm.
plates. Can we take a risk? Can we go up to 100%? Because odds are when they're paying 28 or 24%, they're going to be at the value or higher. So it's kind of helping the member to understand and bringing you over. We are going to take a risk a little bit. You don't have to say it like that, but um,
Yeah. Yeah.
we believe in you and we want to help you be successful, and let's see where we can get you in. Let's say you're bringing them from 28% to 12%. Maybe he's
Mhm.
D paper. And we have what's called a performance plus. So that's an easy way too for me to kind of dangle. You're not getting the best rate, but here, after 3 months, let's watch your score go up. You reach out. If your score's gone up, we'll do what's called a performance plus, and we lower your rate to the new rate. So that's a way you can get this down faster. And they love that. It's they just want somebody to help them. And then the fact that you're giving them a little glimmer of hope, let's, pull in these other collections. Let's gonna do a roadmap, or I like to say, here it's a blueprint because
Mhm.
ironworkers look at blueprints all the time. So I, translate it like they can understand, like I'm gonna give you your blueprint so you can understand looking at this where you need to go. And they love that.
Yeah, yeah. I love how you've always spoken the ironworker language, right? It's like the ironworker identity has like permeated everything, that you do as an organization. For those who are listening or watching, I had the privilege of visiting Teri and her branches in Portland a couple of months ago, and every detail about the physical space. Not to mention the marketing work, which is sort of very well known, and Teri's kind of a brilliant marketer in her own right, beyond being a brilliant manager and CEO of a credit union. She's also got like just an amazing marketing mind, but the physical space really has sort of embodied the ironworker identity too, from like the light fixtures to the desks to the artwork on the walls and the conference room. And it's just amazing. And I think and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your willingness to lean into that identity is really one of the secret sauces to getting these ironworkers interested and bought into the credit union. They see that you're all in on the ironworker profession and identity, and I think that really resonates with them, and clearly has translated into huge growth and just huge success for the credit union. I am curious on sort of some of the loans that you try to recapture, in addition to that first one that maybe the member comes to you for, or that you've reached out to them about, if you've seen it on an ACH report. Are you coaching your team? What's sort of the official approach for your staff when dealing with a member on bringing some of those additional loans back? Because I've heard some credit unions say, well, a member just wants a loan and they want to come in, and we want to make that transaction as easy on them as possible, and send them on their merry way. And so they're a little uncomfortable with the cross sell, or the trying to quote
Mhm.
unquote squeeze more loans out of them. And I'm not
Yeah,
saying that's what you're doing. What you're doing is
yeah.
helping them, but that's just the sort of the commentary that I get from other credit unions. And so what's your approach, and how do you make how do you put your staff in a position to make that pitch to the member?
So there's a couple things. We've done the FISUP training. I think that's really critical for my team to understand the kind of lending that we do. Most of my loan officers, I think all of them now, have gone through the Rex Johnson LSI um, credit boot camp.
Mhm.
And when you say we want to make it easy on the member, I think we're saying we want to make it easy on me as the loan officer, and not necessarily on the member, because the member does not know what we have. We're not just order takers. We're the ones that have the solutions here, and our members are coming to us hoping we're going to tell them about other savings or other things we can do for them. We're not just here. I'm checking that box off. I did what he said. Now he's leaving or she's leaving. It's really look at the whole thing. And that's why sometimes you can't make a quick decision on a loan. You have to take a minute And yes, there are AI products out there or lending products out there that can help cross-sell, I guess. But it really is the old-fashioned, get in, look at it yourself, especially I'm talking credit unions that are 10 million, 5 million, 25 million, 40 million. We don't have the capacity or the financial backing, or income, let's say, sorry, we don't have those credit unions don't necessarily have the income to buy those systems, or you're looking at it going, gosh, it's, 70,000 to implement this. You know how many loans I would have to get to generate that? Now, in the long
Right.
run, sure, because you're not going to have that person call in sick. They're going to be answering 24 hours a day, the AI stuff. But I really still believe we need to be here to help our members and have that interaction. So I haven't moved down that tunnel yet. Not to say that I won't, but I'm not there yet. And so it may take a couple people, and that's the other thing. I have them, every loan officer has their limit. And if it's past that, then they come and get me or get another loan officer. And that allows us to have a conversation about here's what
Mhm.
else I see. In the beginning, there was two of us in this office, and that's what we would do. We would pass each other loans and say, here's what I think. What do you think?
Mhm.
It's a practice. It's an art. You're not going to get there unless a little bit of time is behind you,
Mhm.
especially as a loan officer. The
Mhm.
other thing, Tom, we did in 2015, when we went to remote deposit capture before it kind of took over the nation, but I knew it was critical for us to do that. Being as our members get paid by check, they're not all paid direct deposit. And how can we be convenient? And at that time, we were 5 states: Oregon,
Right.
Washington, Idaho, Alaska, Montana. And
Mhm.
so to capture those checking accounts, we did remote deposit capture. And when I started, we had 616 checking, and now we have almost 8,000 checking counts. And it's just
Wow.
asking again. I asked the member, hey, do you want this hot, sexy debit card? Do you want one of these? And I had them out samples out on my desk so they could see, and they wanted that. And just little by little, we got those checking accounts. And then the remote deposits came with that. And when they're in a job shack and they show that they took their picture of their check and the next guy has to go drive to his bank and it's going
Right.
to have a hold on it, there was conversations happening and they were selling us for us that we didn't have to do. Um, but what I noticed was the lobby was different. The members weren't
Mhm.
coming in to do their banking like they did. And it got me thinking, well, why don't we just take that teller line out and we'll just put desks in here and we're all going to have a desk and we're all going to be loan officers. And so that's kind of what started our trajectory towards this whole, we're all in it together to help.
Mhm.
And I think then as I kind of looked around the industry, and I've been in it for 35 years now, and I've seen us continually fight the fight, feeling like a fight against the bankers. And I think, well, our members don't even know the difference. We look like a bank, we talk like a bank, we smell like a bank. They think we're a bank. So us
Yeah.
trying to bang that thing, the baton there saying, but we're not a bank. We look like it, so they don't know any different. Now my members come in, they sit down, they know they're to get a loan. I'm a lending machine. I'm not here to cash your check.
Yeah.
We have implemented a lot of new excellent tools to help the members have that ease. But in the meantime, if you're going to come in, put your feet up, sit down, talk to me, tell me what's going on, and then I'm going to hear, oh, you just went and bought a car, or your daughter's graduating and you need money. You just hear the cues that you wouldn't have heard if you're up on the teller line.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sort of sales techniques that seem to be built into, what you do as a credit union, and that's another thing that a lot of credit unions shy away from in a large way is sort of the idea of upselling or cross selling their members because it is just very different than sort of the cultures that they probably are familiar with or comfortable with. But there is nothing wrong with having a conversation with a member about what's going on in their life. I mean, just from a personal level, it's nice to have someone take an interest in your personal finances and your personal life. But it also gives you an opportunity as a credit union to really help someone even more. And that's something that Ironworkers has been doing, back since you started in, let's see, what year did you start? In 2010, right?
I became the CEO in 2010. I came in July of 2009, and
Right.
the economy was crashing around us. In Seattle, I had 30% unemployment. 25% of my members were unemployed in Portland, and 20 were in Spokane. So we were, I had some dark days when I first came here and wondered, what have I done? And is the economy going to turn around? And we know it always does if you listen to the economists. But the reality
Like
is,
yeah.
But right now you're in a panic mode because we were downgraded, and there was it was an uphill battle. And I thought, is this worth it as a credit union to be a credit union now? Should we turn in the towel? And I had a lot of people tell me that, like, what are you doing there? Why would you go from this credit union to that credit union? And so I wondered if I was doing the right thing. But as soon as I got there and helped, I knew, I felt it in my soul, like, this is right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine going anywhere else. And I had to fight and tell the examiners every reason why we needed to be here. And this couldn't be another statistic of a credit union that has an amazing seg or a field of membership that had started in 1960 for a reason. And you mean I can't tell that same reason today in 2009 why we needed to be here? I could. And the times weren't as bad as they were trying to start this credit union. I mean, could you imagine, convincing a bunch of people to put their money in a place that they'd never even heard of existed? But little by little it came. And I've also had credit unions tell me, well, you have it easy. You have a name, you have a brand. And hey, that credit union had this brand for 50 years before I got here, and they didn't do anything with it.
Right.
I mean, they tried. The capacity was what they could, but I don't think I have it easy. I think, when everybody started just changing their name to a community charter, I was like, well, they got it easy. All you have to do is open your door and people are going to come in, right?
Right.
No, that's a hard brand to sell. If they would have stayed their original true core, membership, maybe, or gone and gotten segs and been something, it's not as easy as just flipping on the light switch now that says, oh, we're XYZ Community Credit Union. But I also don't like being told I've got it easy now. I mean, I know I do because I have a brand and I have members, but it isn't easy. I don't think either path that you go down isn't an easy route. You just have to, I think the one has to really be non-existent anymore in the common bond charter.
Yeah. And I kind of caution people about, I don't like to say that those credit unions like yours that are doing really well, that things are easy, because that's just not the case. But there are definitely times when I've been sitting in rooms and they're discussing sort of the health and the future of small credit unions, and they're like, but there are so many success stories out there, like Teri Robinson and Mira Ness and Maggie Pope and all these credit unions that are doing by the numbers really well. And it can be easy to sort of say, oh, they got it, they're good. And small credit unions, they're long for this world. But I know how hard you all work to do the things that you're doing. It doesn't just happen. It takes a hell of a lot of work and a hell of a lot of effort and a lot of support too. And so, one thing that I would just caution to any associations or business partners who are out there thinking about the small credit union market, even for those small credit unions that are doing really well, like Teri Robinson's and Ironworkers, it's still, there are still so many ways that they can be helped. So don't lose sight of that fact for sure.
Yeah.
I do want to go back to a little bit of your bio here and, just talk about the beginning and where that has led to, with the announcement of some of the awards that you've received recently. So,
it's kind of almost unreal in that um, I remember literally when we hit 10 million, when I was there, and I thought, oh, how are we going to grow? Um, could we ever, and I don't know why I had 100 million in my mind, was that sweet number. Like, once I get over that, I'm gonna be good.
Yeah.
No, it
Easy
doesn't
street.
work. It doesn't work that way. But um, I just never thought it was possible with the regulations that are on us. When I was restricted with my capital, like you said, the 4.8, I did get secondary capital 2 different times, infused that into us, and I thought, okay, now I'm good. Now I got to, 18 million, and then I got to 20, and 26 is when we changed our charter. And even then, that's crazy now to look back and think the NCUA approved that, with us going nationwide, a $26 million credit union with our capacity. And then as it started just the snowball going. And I think it's exciting to know that I'm getting this out there to other employees, and gonna, maybe leave a little bit of a legacy of a credit union that can actually employ a lot of people and help a lot of members. And again, I'm staying in my lane. I'm not worrying about everybody else's, who they're helping. I got a mission. And that's what I love about this, is we know who we're here to help. I've had other credit unions reach out, about, can I come help them or whatever? And I'm like, nope, I know to my core what we're here to do. So that part's exciting. I don't know where we're headed. My next number is 200 million. I don't know why. Maybe in 5 years we'll be 500 million if I can get the deposits. My members don't have deposits, but we're definitely, I just love that this is kind of coming to fruition, and that I really enacted a lot of stuff I said I was going to do, and that I'm making an impact even greater than I really imagined. To hear from a member in Florida or in Boston or Texas, that has never even physically been with us, but knows through the phone that we are his place. I love that. I love that. I do miss the day-to-day interactions with the members that I get to, was used to have, the stories, the crazy, the laughs. I love to laugh. So, hearing their crazy stories just makes my heart happy. I know when I was more doing day-to-day transactions, I could help a lot more members
Yeah.
mentally and emotionally. Um, and I don't have those same connections. And I just hope that I can pass that on to staff, that we're here to listen, that we collect calls, that we are, we're that lifeline on the other end of the phone. We're not just their bank, we're their friends. And how do I translate that? I think that's the hardest piece for me,
Hmm.
is having, whether I bring someone on new from another credit union that comes in here, the culture shock sometimes is hard. They feel like, well, we know too much about them, or, like you said in the beginning, I don't want to ask him, that's getting into his business. Well, he expects that. He wants you to ask that of him. Um, and so how do I keep that culture going as we grow? Because I've had
Right.
members say, don't ever lose that piece of it, because that's what makes you who you are to us in our community. So
Yeah.
I worry about that piece of it.
Yeah. 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 It's hard. I mean, it must be hard as the longtime leader, and kind of like the credit union has definitely taken on your identity, as it has grown. And for a long time with a smaller staff, it was easier to maintain that, and to,
Right.
as you were kind of saying, maintain that connection with the members and be able to provide service like you always have. But as you've grown and your responsibilities as CEO have grown, it takes you away from the membership service side, like the direct one-to-one service side. But you still, that the one of the success sort of one of the elements of success is having sort of that strong relationship with the member. So how do you make sure your staff continue to to provide that level of service like that. So I'm sure that's a hard thing. And just talking about your impact and how much you care about these members. I think for me that's probably reason number one why you've been successful. Like the branding definitely has taken you to the next level, and a lot of these things, the ACH strategy and checking accounts, and there are a lot of reasons why you're successful. But I think your personal sort of mission to help people is really what matters to you, and I think what has really made Ironworkers successful. And so I know that's why you do it, right? You don't necessarily do it for the personal accolades, but the fact of the matter is you have been recognized now twice in like the last month or so. First by the Go West Credit Union Association. You were the award winner for the Icon Award. And then in February, it was just announced by the National Credit Union Foundation that you're going to receive the Herb Wegner Award for personal outstanding achievement, which is, one of, if not the highest recognitions in our industry. And so just curious to know, your reaction to that, and how you feel about that when, you're recognized for, the work that you've done with your credit union, but also, just as a leader in the credit union industry. Like, what does that mean to you personally?
It's so undescribable. First of all, I don't feel I'm worthy of such things because I'm just being me and just want to help people. I 1000% appreciate the acknowledgement by others, that took the time to nominate and make comments about me and the credit union and what we've done, and what I've had, the impact I've had on other credit unions, the impact to the community. I am very humbled by it. I feel almost embarrassed. I don't know if that's the right word, or I just feel like I'm not there. I'm not there yet. How did I get this? I still have a lot of time left. Can I get it twice? That's one thing I said to somebody. What about when I really go to retire? Am I going to be able to get it again? No. I'm proud to be, spotlighted in that level. I feel like, well, maybe somebody is listening to me. Maybe I am making an impact. I feel like I am in my day-to-day, but maybe there are people around me that do feel that I care, and that I care about the credit union movement, and I care about my members. So that part's nice to be acknowledged for that. I've had some dark days. I've had some sad days here at the credit union, personally, professionally. And so to have this come out of all of that is so amazing. And if I can see the light at the end of the tunnel for maybe some of those dark days I had with us financially from the NCUA, staffing, stuff like that, things that a personal friend, like things that really cut me to the core. And my intention when I come to work is always to be a good person. So if I did something wrong in an exam or whatever, I'm a perfectionist, so that kind of stuff bothers me too. But I want to be the best that I can. And so to have that highlighted is, it's just undescribable, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think oftentimes these awards, and especially the Herb Wegner Award, they've kind of been lifetime achievement awards in a way, which I think are there's definitely a place for those things. There are a lot of people in this industry that have had amazing careers and who are true pioneers in the credit union movement and deserve that recognition without a doubt. But I think there's also sort of a power that these awards can have to inspire people. And as we as an industry think about our place in financial services and the relevancy of credit unions, like we're fighting for it. Like we are in it right now, trying to fight for that relevancy, especially with the new entrants and fintechs and all of these, and the existing large companies, whether they're banks or Apple or, what have you, like credit unions are truly in a fight for their lives. And we need to inspire, the rest of the movement to fight hard. And, I really can think of no other story like yours, that hopefully will, once you recognize, formally at GAC next year, that will inspire people to keep fighting, because it matters. Like the existence of the credit union movement really matters. And I think that if we don't have the Teri Robinson spirit and we don't fight for what we have and try to maintain our relevancy or increase it and strengthen that relevancy, that can be a huge loss. And so, using the award that way, or thinking about you receiving that award now, when I know that you have a lot more to accomplish, years into the future, I think it's totally appropriate. And I know that everyone who's going to be sitting in that room, celebrating you, will think the same thing. Like we're recognizing what you've done up until this point, which is momentous and huge. And we're also looking forward to, what is left to come for you, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So a huge congratulations from me and, from everybody at your credit union partner for the award, because it's truly deserved and could not go to a better person without a doubt. So congratulations.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. You made a good point about, hoping to inspire other people. And I hope that there's either people in the audience or people that listen to this podcast or even just look us up that are maybe mid-level management and tired of going through the loops of an IT department or all these people that say, no, we can't. When you can get into a small credit union and you're the one making those decisions and you can make it in a matter of seconds, we're pivoting, we're going from here to here. That's so impactful. And I would think that would resonate with some that really, how can I motivate others in the leadership roles to step out and away from this comfort zone? Because tomorrow your credit union could be merged. And then you're looking going, shoot, now what am I going to do? They don't need 2 VP of lendings. They don't need 2 CLOs. Where's my next role? And could that be in a credit union that's 50 million or 40 million or 20 million? What does the asset size matter? It matters the impact you have on people. It didn't matter when I was 7.5 million. I still have 5,000 members with 4 of us, 3 branches and 4 of us. So, you just make stuff happen. And that's the exciting part to me. And the Y Cup the people, I want them to go, oh, I could go do this. There is a path, or the Western CUNY Management School or Q's or all these other educational opportunities out there. What are you going to do with that? Why not put it into a real life credit union and help them?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's a great message. I mean, I've always thought that, tapping into the Y Cup sort of group or segment is something kind of existential for us as an industry. I kind of felt like at the National Association we could have, or they could, America's credit unions could play a role in that in a larger way, because the future of the movement is sort of dependent on having young talent taking an industry in credit unions. And if we want to see credit unions continue into the future, we need people to run these shops. And so could programs be created, could sort of a leadership pipeline be created that filters talent into small credit unions, but really to credit unions of all asset sizes. We need to think, I think, holistically as an industry about our talent situation, and how we can get the best and brightest into our movement, right? Like how do we raise awareness? And this is sort of my last question for you, around the awareness of the industry, but just on the subject of talent, how do we raise awareness of the credit union industry as the place where young talent should be looking first when they're thinking about their career prospects and their career opportunities? Like, are we in colleges? Are we at, job fairs? Are we, participating in these places where young professionals are starting to think about where their career is going? Because we got to get in front of them, and we have to grab them before some of these other industries can. And once we do, I think we have sort of the secret weapon, which is the credit union philosophy of people helping people, right? Like that's an easy message to sell, especially for younger generations who are looking for mission driven work, who are looking for work that has a purpose. We've got that purpose in spades, but we need to have we need to get in front of them, so we can tell them that message. But so anyway, so my last question for you is
I
is
can tell you how
around.
we can do that. We can have a reality TV show.
There you go.
Have Kim Kardashian or have an influencer work in a credit union for a day and then show, the impact that they could have had, helping people. There's ways. See, the marketing in me, it's coming out.
Yes,
I'm like,
that's right.
I always think of The Office, The Office, because we could have that filming. I always say I should be walking around with a head cam so I could record my days. Nobody would believe what, comes across, and just the stuff you hear, and you just have to laugh. So anyways, sorry. I'll let
Yeah.
you ask your last question.
Yeah, no, it's funny that you bring up The Office, because I think that Dwight Schrute, in some of the early seasons, he has like a bumper sticker or some sort of sticker that names a local credit union in Pennsylvania. In where are they?
Duluth?
No, no, no.
Duluth. Isn't that where they were? Where were they?
They're in Scranton,
Oh,
where
Scranton. Yeah.
where
Okay.
Joe Biden is from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember that there is a sticker. I'll have to look it up. I'll Google it after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so credit unions are part of the Office, canon. So for all of you Office buffs out there. Okay, but so last question. I personally think that awareness of the credit union industry is sort of one of the, if not the most important issues that we face. Um, if you were the queen of the credit union movement, what would be the thing that you would do to try to raise awareness of the credit union movement in the eyes of more consumers?
Ooh, I definitely, that's a good question. I think, social media wise and showing people, somehow we need to resonate with people that they don't have to, because not all credit unions are like us. We're, a common bond, or a, associational common bond in our case. Most are community credit unions.
Mhm.
So it's like you have to change that barrier for people to think that they can't join a credit union. I don't know if it's our wording of you can join, and so they get turned off by that. I think our $5 membership or $25 or $1, whatever we have, kind of sometimes it that was from 100 years ago. We haven't moved
Yeah,
the needle and changed anything. And especially with Cuddle and some of the indirect avenues that members come to us, it's like you should have a one-time membership fee, and then we get rid of all these dormant account fees too. I'm going off on a tangent because dormant accounts drive me nuts, that we tell people to go away when they're banking here. They, it's sentimental, whatever reason. And so isn't there just like a one-time thing, kind of like a Costco membership? You pay it once a year and you're a member, whether you have a loan or not. And I don't have to mail you a statement. I don't have to tell you I have this $5 in here that we don't want anyways. And, I just think there is some, we should be sitting in a room talking about how could this be different for
yeah,
credit unions going forward. You know, Trying to tell the consumer, we have a not-for-profit board, and we have, volunteers. That doesn't resonate a lot unless they see them in your community. Um, they just want a good deal.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. I do think that when I was working on the awareness initiative 8, 9 years ago at this point, there was a lot of, when they would come out with the research that CUNA conducted, there was a lot of confusion still about the credit union industry, and how to join a credit union and who you were eligible to join and all that stuff. And I think they made some inroads try to address those things. But, you know, I think still to this day, there's probably not enough understanding of who credit unions are and what they do. And, you know, there's still so much untapped potential as far as members. And yeah, we still got to work on that for sure.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of grassroots, inexpensive ways, probably getting email lists and things like that you could do. We haven't moved the needle enough as credit unions overall. You know, the asset size of credit unions is pretty much, probably the whole time I've been in credit unions, stayed the same. Credit unions are going down, decreasing. So what does that mean to me? We're just all kind of merging into one and still only have the same amount of assets. And whether it's 6 or 8%, depending on who you talk to, it's still pretty low. And that's why, again, I look at it as half full. I'm thinking the other 94% of people don't bank with me. That's who I'm going after. I'm not going after the people that aren't a member. And people want to belong. That's another thing too. I think as credit unions, asking them to join or asking them into your club or whatever, however you want to think about it, they really do want to belong to something. Look at how many people buy Costco memberships for a supposed discount, and they're not really even getting a discount. We've got stuff to give them. So, and you know, the other thing too, I tried to find more benefits about us. Like I worked with Carhartt to get a reduction for the membership. They got 40% off if they bought Carhartts through us. Like, what are the benefits that will really impact my members? Also with a boot manufacturer, I was working with them to get a discount if my members, and I told them, you know, I'll advertise to my members, and can you give us a discount for the members to buy boots through you? I've done that with a few different partners, again, to create more of a benefit of this membership and value than just you get a car loan that you can get down the street. For the same rate. Because we'll match your rate, but what else are you getting with me? And did I mention our hot, sexy debit cards?
Right. Yeah. I think that's very well said. You know, I think giving members or potential members more reasons to become members, you know, more of an incentive to become members. You know, that's the name of the game. So thanks for sharing that wisdom, and, you know, thanks for sharing your story and your time today, Teri. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to celebrating your second big award win at GAC next year with the Herb Wegner Awards. So congratulations again, and thanks again for joining.
Yeah, thank you.